This guy, Flash Thompson, he probably deserved what happened. But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for some more comic industry news. I think most people were pretty surprised to hear that Nick Spencer would be exiting Amazing Spider-Man in issue number 74. It's somewhat of a milestone, 875. It felt like he was building up this like 100 issue spectacular that was going to kind of end with the final reveal of Kindred and probably the removal of One More Day and some things of that nature. It's wrapping up in issue 74. Feels like it was done early, and we're getting some information about the creative team that's going to replace him, and some indications that likely, yes, he did leave abruptly due to his Substack deal, and Marvel are kind of scrambling. This doesn't feel like there's a big plan in place. From what I'm told, these changes are not going to be permanent. I got some examples of what this is similar to. I'll let you decide whether this is good news or bad news, but we started seeing several creators associated with Marvel Comics started using the hashtag Spider-Man Beyond, and they were releasing some promo graphics, some teaser stuff. The creators that were releasing images were Kelly Thompson, Saladin Ahmed, Patrick Gleason, Zeb Wells, and Cody Ziegler. Most of them very well known by comic book readers, almost all of them comic book writers, except for Patrick Gleason, who has dabbled in writing in the past. He was a co-writer for Superman, and I believe for Super Sons as well. He wrote one of the Captain America stories, I believe, in Marvel Comics 1000. Hasn't been writing a lot at Marvel Comics. Perhaps he's the artist or the primary artist, or perhaps he's one of the writers as well. We're not really sure. But it appears that this is going to be the new behind Spider-Man once Nick Spencer leaves. I do not know that it's going to be rebooting to number one. I'll be shocked if it doesn't. Adding to the intrigue, we also got a bunch of retweets from the official Spider-Man Twitter account, and it was retweeting these with something called the Beyond Corporation. Sounds like that may be what the story arc is, or possibly a quick fix event that they're going to be doing, or that they're leading to. Now, this first image that you've seen while I've been talking is the Spider-Man Beyond, I guess, like logo teaser type thing. That was released by Zeb Wells. Zeb Wells has worked on Spider-Man in the past. I love his work right now on Hellions. So put that out front. Zeb Wells is a good choice for this. And from what I'm hearing, because Nick Spencer left early, they don't have a definitive plan, or if they do, that person's not ready to take over. And this is a quick fix action similar to what happened when Marvel Comics rebooted Uncanny X-Men like 3 years ago, and then fast-tracked it, released it weekly with the like 4 or 5 creators on it, so they get to that Age of X-Men event, if you remember that one, before Hickman was able to take over. Me personally, once the lead up to Age of X-Men was over, and Matthew Rosenberg became the primary writer on Uncanny X-Men, it was actually pretty good. Was not a fan of it before then when there were like 4 writers. Was not my bag. Age of X-Men, I've talked about it enough. Not a fan. I want to be nice here. Not a fan of Age of X-Men. That Age of X-Men event that was fast-tracked was the brainchild of Jordan White, the X-Men group editor. Hickman was supposed to take over. He ended up telling him he had to wait 9 months, or was it 12 months? One or the other. So they had this big gaping hole, and he filled it in with this Uncanny X-Men relaunch, Age of X-Men event, till they get to Hickman. And it sounds like that's what Spider-Man Beyond is. Whether that's the entire encompassing thing or the event that they're moving towards, I'm not really sure. But this creative team of Kelly Thompson, Saladin Ahmed, Patrick Gleason, Zeb Wells, Cody Ziegler are that. It's a quick fix. Also similar to something called Brand New Day, if you remember that. That was like after One More Day. Amazing Spider-Man relaunch, like as a weekly title written by a brain trust of rotating writers with some recurring artists. You might remember Zeb Wells himself was also a part of that. So this is not new territory for some of these creators, and certainly not new territory for Spider-Man. They've done this before, and not new territory for Marvel. They literally just did it a couple of years back where they had a gap, and this was the solution to bring in a group of writers to kind of get them through to whatever the actual permanent creative team is. What's the permanent creative team, you ask? I don't know. I imagine they probably have somebody already picked out. but I've heard names, but I have gotten no confirmation so far. The second image that was released was of this Spider-Man kissing Mary Jane. This one was from Patrick Gleason. Essentially, you've got a battered Peter Parker with a Spider-Man mask, ripped to tatters. Mary Jane is also kissing him, kind of comforting him. What's interesting here is you will look on her finger and you will see a wedding ring. The reason that so many people dislike One More Day was because it dissolved the MJ Peter Parker marriage. It's an albatross that's been sitting, and weighing Spider-Man down ever since it happened. It probably should have never happened. So this, to me, indicates that before Nick Spencer's leaving Spider-Man, either he completely undoes One More Day, which it appears that he was in the middle of doing with the Kindred story. We are certainly having references to Mephisto from Doctor Strange, and we are seeing Peter remembering a past life and all these things that were happening, and we're getting this other version of Harry Osborn. We also see in Amazing Spider-Man 74, Peter swinging with Mary Jane. She's got a bouquet of flowers. Did they just get married? Did they dissolve One More Day altogether, or did he just get them back together and married? Either way, I think people would be happy. They would be happier if they got rid of One More Day. But as long as they're married at the end of it, I think for the most part, people are going to be exceptionally happy with Nick Spencer's run. And this image here indicates that that's likely what happened. The next image that we have is from Saladin Ahmed. This is a Spidey suit. It's a character design for a new Spider-Man suit with web shooters. It's almost identical to the one Ben Reilly wore when he replaced Peter Parker as Spider-Man. We have also recently seen Ben Reilly appearing as a guest star in Christopher Cantwell in Kafu's Iron Man series. So Ben Reilly has recently returned. I don't think we had really seen him since the Scarlet Spider series had ended a couple years back. So we certainly have indications that Ben Reilly is likely to be returning as Spider-Man himself. This is not the Scarlet Spider outfit. This is his Spider-Man outfit when he replaced Peter Parker. We saw in the previous image, it looked like Peter Parker was almost dead. So there's a good chance that in this Spider-Man Beyond story arc thing that they're moving towards, waiting for the new creative team, that Peter Parker is going to be out of commission. He's going to be part of the Beyond Corporation or whatever, but he won't be able to actually be Spider-Man, and we will have Ben Reilly back as Spider-Man. At least that's what a lot of these images are kind of leading you to as far as what's happening. The next image that was released was from Kelly Thompson. This is the Scarlet Spider logo, a tilted Spider-Man logo on a circular blue background. The shape and design of the spider emblem are similar to the one Ben Reilly wore on his blue hoodie when he was Scarlet Spider. Reilly was definitively revealed as a clone, if you remember, at the end of the Clone Saga, before returning as a villain in the Clone Conspiracy. And then he kind of started using the mantle of Scarlet Spider before he became Spider-Man himself briefly, and then he became Scarlet Spider again. So Ben Reilly is coming back. If you miss Ben Reilly, and I know there's a guy named Yellow Flash out there who's absolutely missed Ben Reilly. He loves that character. He was pissed when that series went away. He's returning. Although you might be more pissed because I'm pretty certain that he's going to be replacing Peter Parker as Spider-Man. He's not returning, at least not at this moment, likely as Scarlet Spider himself. Finally, we get this reveal of Ben Reilly taking the mask off from Cody Ziegler. If you do not know who that is, they've written a few comic books of Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Heroes Reborn. Mostly, they've written for Rick and Morty, Robot Chicken, Marvel Studios' She-Hulk that's coming up, and Craig of the Creek. Is this good news or bad news? I have no idea. It seems like a lot of hack screenwriters getting comic book gigs. For the most part, I haven't been unimpressed. Does that mean Cody Ziegler's work on this hastily put together Spider-Man Beyond project will be bad? No, absolutely not. Could be great. There are a lot of people that have transitioned in the past. It just feels like they're trying to force it a lot lately. Is Cody Ziegler the right person for the Ben Reilly Spider-Man story? I have no idea. That is, we are waiting to see. We haven't even had the actual confirmation of all this stuff. So that is going to be your new Spider-Man creative team. You've got Kelly Thompson, Saladin Ahmed, Patrick Gleason, Zeb Wells, Cody Ziegler. It's going to be hastily. It's been hastily put together. They did not expect Nick Spencer to leave so early. They thought he was going to be at least out to issue 100. Spider-Man was previously releasing twice monthly and sometimes weekly, depending on the event. So to get it from issue 74 to issue 100, it's about 12 months, perhaps as little as 9 months, maybe, to get to that number. So I imagine this team will be on the series for a while with whatever it is they're doing. Obviously, it is called Spider-Man Beyond. And we are getting Ben Reilly back. So I think all that can pretty much be confirmed. I do think Ben Reilly will be replacing Peter Parker, who he's not dead, but it doesn't look like he's in good shape. Maybe he's going to be head of the corporation. Also, we've got a new costume for Miles Morales. Miles Morales is celebrating his 10th anniversary with issue number 30, also in September, the same month that we're getting Spider-Man 74, also known as 875. It's an interesting look. It looks a lot like the costume that Kane wore as Scarlet Spider, another clone. Pretty interesting because we do have Miles Morales currently in his own Clone Saga storyline from Saladin Ahmed, who's going to be co-writing Amazing Spider-Man, apparently. I've also seen some other people that say it reminds them of the Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse costume, where it wasn't really spandex and had like a more loose tracksuit feel. I would go with the initial one, that it kind of looks like the Kane Scarlet Spider costume to me more than the one from the Spider-Verse, but I could see how people could see that as well. Are these things related? I don't think so. But we are getting a new costume for Miles Morales, 10th anniversary celebration. We did get some of the creative team that's going to be on that comic book, but they did leave it open-ended, like people could return. So I do think, I think there's a good chance you're going to see Brian Michael Bendis return to Marvel Comics and at least contribute to the 10th anniversary of Miles Morales. They're also releasing a plethora of variant covers to celebrate the 10th anniversary. We got one on Avengers, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, Iron Man, Spider-Woman, Amazing Spider-Man, Death of Doctor Strange, Fantastic Four, Guardians of the Galaxy, Moon Knight, Black Cat, Thor, Wolverine, and Nonstop Spider-Man. So if you're a big Miles Morales Spider-Man fan and you want all these covers, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny, but there are a lot of them out there. And that is the news regarding Spider-Man. We have a new Spider-Man creative team. It's going to be a group. There's not one creator right now. I've been told this is not permanent, that they are scrambling because they were not expecting Nick Spencer to leave before issue 100. Obviously, he's left 26 issues earlier to go over to Substack and kind of be the face of the brand of their new comic book stuff. Also, Miles Morales Spider-Man is celebrating his 10th anniversary coming up in September. He's getting a new costume. I'm also told this isn't permanent. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. That is just a gimmick to drive up sales for the 10th anniversary. And then he'll revert back to his regular costume. Kind of like what they just did with Spider-Man himself not too long ago, where he had that really hideous blue, white, and orange costume. Definitely want to know your thoughts. Is this good news? Are you excited about a new Spidey brain trust working on the character until there's a permanent writer come aboard? And what do you think of the new Miles Morales Spider-Man costume? Let me know in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you guys. And tonight there will be a review of Spawn's Universe from Todd McFarlane and a host of great artists. We'll see you later. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.